Alright, good morning everybody and welcome. Today we shall be going through the upsets of the Austin Major, last Austin 2025 Major. And how this is gonna go, I'm just gonna chronologically go from the beginning to the end, all of the games, and I'm gonna rank all the upsets we had to see which upset was the best, which was the worst, and so on and so on. And how this exactly works is that I went through all the games based on the seeding. So basically, what this means that the upsets are only the upsets where the bottom seed defeated the top seed. So it's not a perfect list because you can always argue if something is upset or not. And I hope even have the F tier here, which basically means that I don't think it was an upset to begin with. But I digress. Anyways, so the whole point here is just to kind of like see how the game went. Because spoiler, we had like 40 or 42 upsets total. So let's get going. First of all, OG beating Complexity 13-3. The opening match basically, or one of the opening games if I'm not mistaken. Or was it second game? Doesn't matter. In the beginning, OG and especially Nikodos owned Complexity completely. Nothing they could do. It was just dominance. But how is it as an upset? Well, here's the thing. Complexity should beat OG, but OG is not like a bum team. They have a quite an alright team. They just don't really play the tournaments where they get visibility that much. So, but yeah, Complexity is definitely the favorite. It's best of one on the first round, so it's kind of like taking some out of it. But what makes it really nice, in my opinion, is that Complexity representing the US of A's in the American continent on their home soil. They're supposed to basically set the trend here, like, let's see how it's gonna go. Let's see how far we can get here. And they get stomped. And I think that's like, we're gonna start strong. I think this is an A-tier upset simply because of like what it also represents. Because if it was just a neat game, it doesn't really matter that much. But because this is an American team on the first round getting obliterated, it just that just should not happen at all. That should not have been the case. Yet here we are. They got stomped, and that trend was definitely something that was set in the early on there. Unfortunately for the American teams, but spoiler, they didn't do well. It's really rough. But that's kind of what makes it. It's more like the whole storytelling, the symbolism behind it, all that stuff. That's kind of like what elevated it a lot. Otherwise, it would not be this high. But it's simply that factor there. Second, we had Energy beating Tyloo. Yeah, I think Energy was definitely one of those teams that people didn't really expect too much from. There was the expectations that they can go, I would say, second stage, maybe third would be, yeah, third would be pushing it, but they could definitely go to the second stage. They didn't. But the opening win against Tyloo is pretty good. Like, Tyloo is not a bad team. I think they are easily forgotten because they don't really play so much here in Europe or so on. But it's a good upset. That's nothing too special. But here again, I think it's like where this game kind of like was a gut punch against the home crowd. This one kind of like is the redeeming one. So I guess it's kind of like what elevates it a little bit here. It's nothing too special otherwise. Like, you could argue there's a pretty even team in that sense when you put them on the even ground. But yeah, I would still give the edge on Tyloo. So it's an upset, but it's again like kind of like the little flash of hope for the American audience. Elevates a little bit here. Next, FlyQuest beating Bedboom. I don't think this is really a huge upset. Like, of course, Bedboom is a team that probably should have won this game, but I don't think FlyQuest is a bad team. And if I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't go through this stage because they had what it needed to go through. They just couldn't push over the edge. So I'm gonna put this very low. I don't think this is really a upset. Um, it's like F tier is basically reserved for the games that, in my eyes, are totally not an upset and should not be registered as upset to begin with. E tier here is more like these games. Yeah, technically speaking, they are upset, but they're nothing special, nothing noteworthy to me at least. Not from the story point of view, not for the games itself, and like pretty one-sided in that sense. 13-6, it's just nothing special. Yeah, nothing special. Now, Wildcard versus Lynn Vision is an interesting one because, first of all, I don't really know why this is labeled as an upset to begin with. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, this should probably not have been in the list at all, as it is right now. My guess here would be that it's the seeding that kind of like flips over after the first round. But the game, really tough overtime game. Again, it's like the third American team on this group, pushing past Lynn Vision barely, but still pushing through. I think that's kind of like something that that needs to be like remembered. Is like the game is pretty exciting. It's like it's always nice to see some overtime actions. That's where the stakes get really high because, yeah, sure, it's best of one, it's win or lose. But when it's overtime, it's kind of like you're pushing further and further and further and trying to beat the other team, and then eventually you fail. So yeah, simply because the double overtime game, I'm gonna leave it as a C tier. It's kind of like a good middle of the round tier here. It's like it's not a bad upset. It's not like a bad quality upset like these two. It's not a great upset or good upset like this. It's not a top tier or no existent either. So it's just middle of the ground upset. Legacy beating Chinggis Warriors. Yeah, I mean, this game is basically, I think this probably was a lot of people's like 03 picks fighting against each other. So I think they're pretty even in that sense. But it is one of those things that kind of like starts the whole legacy story here. But I'm not yet giving it very much value because legacy shows what they are capable of doing here, but later on. But right now, not quite yet there. And I'm just gonna keep it still here. I'm gonna put it over and like before the FlyQuest game simply because they showed some kind of like it's kind of like the beginning of their like upset run in a sense. Even though this game itself, it's just nothing really special. Like it doesn't really matter which way the score went here. It's not really a proper great upset to begin with. But technically speaking, I suppose, yeah. I mean, I could also put it here, but I'm just gonna keep it here simply because the story, what it represents. Nemiga beating um, Imperial. Let's see. I think Nemiga's really hard team to kind of like put on this list because I 100% know that I'm a little bit biased here because based on their run, it feels really weird to say that they were that big of an underdog team. But when I start thinking like how the tournament itself went, a lot of people put very little faith on them, and I can understand why. But they were doing good job with their upsets. I just don't think it was really that big of an upset to begin with. I'm just contemplating like should I put it here or even here? Because like after the matter I've definitely said that this is the expected result, but was this the case while watching the tournament itself? Not necessarily. I think I might have even had in my becomes Imperial going through, did I? Or did I have Nemiga going through? I don't remember which way I had it. But either way, I think I had some faith in Imperial here. Did I? Oh boy. I don't remember how I did it. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna put it still as kind of like a minor upset here. Like it's debatable if it's an upset or not. So I guess it counts. Energy complexity. Now this is a solid upset because complexity was basically the team everybody was expecting to do well, and then they get basically stomped in the first game. And second game, energy comes and sweeps in and bow. Okay, that's not going well. I'm gonna put it as a B tier, and I'm gonna put it above. There we go, above the first energy game, because this is a good kind of like clash within in front of the home crowd, and energy just kind of like shows who's the boss. I think it's pretty good. It's a very solid upset in that sense. So I do like it a lot. I think it's a good like top of B tier there. Nemiga Lynn Vision. Okay, it's like early on I talked about this one against Imperial, if that's even an upset. I think this one is only upset based on the seeding itself. Like I do think Nemiga should have beaten Lynn Vision while watching the tournament. Of course, we need to remember Lynn Vision did amazing job in this tournament. I don't think it was something we should have expected or could have expected. Whereas I think Nemiga always had good showings online before the actual tournament, so they had potential. And based on that, I don't think this result should have been even considered an upset at the time it happens. So that's why I'm gonna put it here. Like, I mean, it's borderline here, but I might change it at some point. Let's put it there right now. OG beating Tyloo. This one I must say, I don't think this even should have been an upset to begin with. It's just one of those seeding things where the Tyloo gets kind of like a top seed, so OG is the underdog. It just, intuitively speaking, I don't think we should expect Tyloo to beat OG or be surprised that OG beats Tyloo like this. So that's a clear one. I don't count that as an upset. It's just Nemiga versus FlyQuest. Now this, in my eyes, this was an upset because I was expecting FlyQuest to go through, and it was pretty unfortunate to witness because I do think FlyQuest should have gotten through, but they just couldn't. So this is a good upset, but it's not. I'm not. Yeah, I think this is probably a D tier upset. Like it's not a middle of the ground upset. It's like it's not a great upset in just because of how biased I am now towards Nemiga, because they had a good promise. It's more like an unfortunate thrown event from FlyQuest, because I do think FlyQuest underperformed from what they could have. And I'm not sure if, yeah, hard to say. I just don't really think this is like an exciting upset. It's just an upset that's not like a bad one. It's not a good or neutral. It's gonna be either C or D tier. I'm gonna put on the D tier because we don't really have anything there yet, just to justify its existence here to begin with. Now, Legacy versus Imperial. That's also one of those things that, on hindsight, you can of course debate if it is an upset or not. But as of right now, when I start thinking up like back while watching the tournament, I do think I would have given the edge on the Imperial side. But it's Imperials. They didn't really show you anything to get excited for in the earlier games, in my opinion. So I'm gonna put this also on the D tier. It's just, technically speaking, yeah, it's an upset. I mean, maybe the whole kind of like rivalry between the orcs could be put in there, but I mean, I'll just put it in front of this one because at least it was a little bit more entertaining 2-1 game. So, but yeah, it's not that great of an upset. And here's the culmination point of a complexities run. Playing against Tyloo, getting beaten 2-0. I mean, just to be fair, I've already put one upset against. No, sorry, it's the wrong way around. Ignore that. I've already kind of like put a lot of stock on the whole kind of like home crowd storyline here. which Complexity definitely had going on them. They should have been going forward. They completely bombed out, which means this is actually a pretty decent upset. Because I don't think anybody would have before the tournament said that, yeah, Tyloo's gonna do O Complexity. I mean, of course, the whole Halser situation, it sucks, but just to kind of like have Tyloo cross the home crowd streams of seeing Complexity do well, it's pretty nice storytelling. I think it's an 8-tier upset. It broke a lot of people's hearts. It's a sad one to see, but that's life. Now, Legacy beating Wildcard 2-0. It's yet another of these games where the expected result would be Wildcard going through, because they had been playing quite well beforehand. Like before the major, I would say Wildcard had good potential. I actually expected them to go to the next stage. They didn't. So I think this is also a solid. Let me think. This is either gonna be a B tier or A tier upset to me. But it's hard to say after the matter because I know how this whole tournament ends. I know how great Legacy does. It's hard not to kind of like take that. Sorry, apologies. That it's hard not to take that on account. It's really hard not to kind of like be looking a little bit like looking through the rose-colored lenses here. Like, yeah, but Legacy had such a great run. It's hard not to value it well. At the same time, you start overestimating them there. But while watching this game, yeah, I was expecting Wildcard to basically beat them. I would have expected this score to be the other way around. And it's a best of 3 upset. Say this is like top of B tier here. It's not as big of an upset as this one over here, which is why I'm gonna leave it on B tier. I mean, I think Tyloo beating Complexity is a bit bigger of an upset, so that's where the difference comes from. And now we move to the second stage. We're starting with a banger of Falcons being beaten by Bait on best of 1. I mean, we'll talk more about Falcons. Trust me, there's a couple of more of those entries coming in. But first of all, Bait did not play poorly by any means. I would not have been surprised if Bait actually went through. Did they actually make through the stage or not? I need to check that one real quick. Let me see. Stage 2. No, they got eliminated. Okay. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I would have expected that Bait could actually go through this stage. So in that sense, it's not a surprise that they win Falcons on a first game, especially when it's best of 1. So I'm just gonna be brutally honest here. It's a D tier upset. Like, it's not a bad upset. It's solid upset, but it's not that surprising when you actually think about it. And I think most people going into this game also knew that there's a very high upset potential there. Second, we have Legacy beating MIBR. I think that this game, on paper, I would have said that MIBR is gonna win. After the matter, it seems much more even game. It was a pretty entertaining game, but it's just nothing special in that sense. Like, best of 1 Legacy, who already has kind of like has well warmed up from their previous stage games playing against MIBR. Just doesn't seem like that was a huge upset to begin with. Keeping that on mind, I mean, it's still an upset, but it's not like a great upset or anything. I'm just gonna put in D tier. Nothing special there. Tyloo beating M80. I think this was not really a huge upset after we saw the first stage. And I think the main reason here why it's labeled as an upset is because Tyloo comes from the previous stage, which kind of like gives them the bottom seed, whereas M80 has the higher seed. But seeing how these these teams have played. I like previously in the tournament how Tyloo played, and before online how MIBR played. I don't think it's a surprise. I mean, it has some of the value of, like, again, home crowd hopes being crushed yet another time again by the Chinese team, who just kind of like bumped the complexity run there. So it has some kind of like nice storytelling there, but yeah, we're starting with strong. Oh, yeah, it's a D tier. I mean, I'm just gonna put it in the upper half of the D tier simply because it's kind of like the whole storyline of like American team being again pushed away from the glory, all that stuff. Moving on, Legacy beating 3D Max. I mean, it's an upset, yeah. I mean, 3D Max, I think many people had as a potential upset team to kind of like go through. I think some might even expect them to potentially reach playoff on a good day. So yeah, I'll say it's an upset, but kind of like team that's been on a hot run, coming on onto a best of one game against team that's barely kind of like gotten going. I mean, they had their own upset game, did they? No. Who did they play on the first round? Let me see. Pretty much beat Betboom. Okay, that's a pretty strong start, but yeah, I think this is a C tier to me. Like, it's nothing special. It's not a bad upset. It's pretty good upset, but it's not really something that stands out. So C tier, not a top, more like a bottom C tier. Now we have Lynn Vision beating Falcons. I think this is this is actually like a good upset from Lynn Vision. And even though it's again one of these like best of one games on the first day, it's kind of like the game where everybody expected, okay, now Falcon's gonna bounce back and start their run forward. But no, here comes Lynn Vision, pushes through them. It's not like a very one-sided game in that sense, but Falcons should have won this simply based on the material they have on the server, but they didn't. I think this is like an B tier upset. I mean, maybe even A tier, top B tier. I That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I think this is basically what gave Falcons the absolute gut punch that, if nothing else, this probably killed their like mood in the camp after the first day, and it also very much legitimized their own run. I'm gonna put this on the A tier simply because it's kind of like one of those things that you would not expect to happen. I mean, it could happen because of best of one. I don't think this would have happened in a best of three, but then again, who knows at this point? Falcons had a very terrible off day, and Lynn Vision was really getting people excited for themselves. So I think it's all in all kind of like for the stories that it also kind of like push on the motion and puts out on the people's knowledge. It's a good upset. Nemiga beating MIBR. I think this is one of those things where, okay, I can't put it on the F tier because I do think MIBR should be the better team still, but there's a little bit of like the seeding going on again. But then again, it's also an overtime game, which kind of like makes it more entertaining. But I think it's just a kind of like top E tier. It's one of those games that you can argue if it's even an upset or not. Doesn't really spark any joy to me. It's just another of those games. And yeah, let's move on the best of threes. Yes, best of threes of the stage 2. We had the 2-0 game, which also finished 2-0. Nice. Okay, now Legacy beating Faze Clan 2-0. I think this was really unexpected. I mean, Faze Clan, they're playing with simple. They started well, got 2 games under their belt, It was looking really good to them. And then all of a sudden they are beaten by Legacy. I think this is the first kind of like upset that I could consider S tier, but I don't think it's a tough one. I don't think it's quite S tier yet. Simply because it's kind of like still so early to the whole Faze situation, and Faze has always been one of those low teams that kind of like just gets going the tougher the games go. So it's nothing too alarming. It's definitely an A tier upset simply because Legacy should not be able to do this in a best of 3. Yet they did it against Faze Clan. That's pretty huge. It's definitely yeah, here I would say it's better upset than this one, definitely for sure. Not as good as an upset of this one. Actually, why do I still have this on the top? Like this is a good upset, but it's not like so good as these are. It's like bottom of the A tier, I think, but it's a good upset. Yeah, I'll rearrange a little bit there. Talking of Faze Clan, now they also lost to 3D Max in the following game. 3D Max that put them in the 2-2 group, and that's kind of like where the Faze fans started like sweating a little bit. It got really scary, like, oh boy, are they actually bombing out after going 2-0 for the first day? It was a good upset. I mean, I'm not putting this as high as the Legacy one, simply because 3D Max is on paper a much better team, and I could expect this kind of result against the unproven Faze Clan playing with a stand-in, who has a full roster for the first time with a stand-in. So I'm gonna put this on the top half of B tier. I do think this one is kind of like still on the top because it was like the elimination game, if I remember correctly, which is pretty exciting. Was it? I'm gonna double check real quick. Yeah, it was an elimination game. Yeah, yep. So I think that's the reason why I'm gonna keep it there. Moving on, Nemiga beating M80. Again, my Nemiga bias is really much here. Like I can't really remember how I felt back in that moment, because I do think like after everything, Nemiga is just a team that proved to be pretty darn good. Whereas M80, I don't think they have proven that much. I would even argue that on one hand, you could say that this is not an upset to begin with. It's just a seeding thing because Nemiga came from the previous stage. However, you could also argue that Nemiga had not really proven themselves in the LAN environment as well as they had online. But then again, you could also throw the same arguments for the M8 that they haven't really proven themselves enough to be the favorites there. Whether it's gonna be kind of like top of the F tier or bottom of the E tier, I would, based on the tournament results so far, I'm just gonna say that this is not an upset. I don't think this should be an upset consideration to begin with. Now, MIBR Falcons. I think I speak for everybody when I say that this was the first S tier upset of the tournament. Not only because the end result was like 2-1. Amazing tight third map. And when I say amazing, I'm not meaning like that the quality of Counter-Strike was amazing. I'm meaning that the game was entertaining as hell. Falcons drew so many good opportunities to win this game. They were beating them if they just closed half of the rounds they usually do. They blew a lot of those leads. There were a couple of like 5v3s. I don't even need to mention the Inferno B-side retake. It's like we've all seen that. We've all seen the reactions. Everybody who watched this major has seen this game or heard of this game. And a lot of people who didn't even watch the major have heard about people who watched the major talk about this game. It's an S tier. Also for the storylines, like this basically crumbled Falcons' chances to be in the playoffs to begin with. Like Falcons was supposed to be the team that comes in and challenges Vitality. the team that finally push Vitality from their like path to glory, ruined their era, claimed their own throne, finally have Nico win the major, all crumpled by one best of 3 against MIBR. Like, that's just embarrassing for the team here. Great resilience from MIBR. Like, they pushed through impossible rounds. They capitalized on the opponent's mistakes. Like, what more can you ask from a team like that? It's pretty darn amazing. And what makes it even like worse to think is that they didn't even qualify for the next stage. They were beaten by Faze on the next round. It's just really sad to see that both of these teams kind of like got eliminated after this battle here. But as a standalone game, it was pretty darn good, pretty darn entertaining, and it got people to talk, which is impressive as heck. Now, Lynn Vision beating Bait. It's an upset, yeah, that's definitely an upset. I would say I had Bait going through, if I'm not mistaken. And Lynn Vision I probably had as an 0-3 team. Yeah. Yeah, fell for it again. But best of 3, yeah, it's a good upset. Is it a great upset? It's definitely not like a great upset, but I would say it's a B tier upset. Still like a good upset, but where should I put in the B tier? That's the question. I mean, having Lynn Vision qualify for the next stage, qualifying to stage 3, that has to mean something. And I would say that it's again like an elimination game. It's just it's a good story. The storyline is so great that it has to be somewhere here. And to do it 2-1 fashion, it means that you are still resilient enough to push through, even though the game can get hard. I'm just gonna put it in the. I might even consider A tier here. I'm gonna put it on A. Yeah, it's an A tier game. It's an A tier game. Move along, OG. Make room for Lynn Vision. I mean, if I'm gonna put it on the A tier, it needs to be better than their previous game because it's a best of 1. This is a best of 3 elimination game, and they push through. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Chef's kiss. Oh, Mega playing heroic. This was a tough game. This was a tough game. I remember watching this game because I'm a Finn myself. I really wanted heroic to go through. I wanted Sota go as far as he can, coaching the team. They end up losing, and the annoying part about this is like I think heroic on paper should have won this game simply because they had so many opportunities on both of those maps to close that map or turn it around or beat it completely, but they didn't. I think they choked hard. They failed a lot of those advantages they had, and it blew on their face. It's really really a shame to see. It's really sad to see. It's a good upset. I don't think it's an A tier upset. I mean, this is again my Nemiga bias, and probably comes from this game because they were capitalizing on Heroic's mistakes so well. I think it's a middle of the B tier upset. It's not as exciting as the previous ones. The storylines weren't that there, but it's more like Heroic was the team that a lot of people thought could push to the playoffs if they play well, and then they fail in stage 2. It's a shame. It's a good upset. There's nothing like super spectacular. Now Virtus Pro beating MOUZ. It's an opening game, best of 1. MOUZ almost making a comeback if I remember correctly, but then they didn't. Virtus Pro closed it out. The game is entertaining, but I think it's not really per se an upset when it's a best of 1 game against 2 teams that you could argue are quite evenly matched. I mean, MOUZ was the favorite, but was it such a heavy favorite that they should have I mean, they should have beaten, of course, but that it would be catastrophic for them to lose? I think this is like a solid top of C tier because it's nothing really special. It's just a tough opening game against two good teams. And MOUZ had a terrible start for the tournament, yet they still pushed it very, very close. So I think it's just the middle of the pack here. Legacy beating Vitality and ending their win streak. Surely this has to be a great upset, right? I don't think this is as good of an upset as it is made to be. Because here's the thing. Like, we had this amazing win streak for Vitality. And how does it end? It's a best of one game. It's an opener game of the stage, basically. It's against a team that is very warmed up from the previous stages. They're already kind of like in the complete work mode, whereas Vitality is just kind of like getting started. Vitality is the team that everyone's watching because they're the top team right now. I don't think anyone is really watching too much what Legacy is doing, so they have the best possible opportunity to do something like this. And what do? They completely stomp Vitality. They cement themselves in history as the team that stopped their run, stopped the Vitality dominance, or their like non-lose streak, their win streak. That has to mean something. But other than that, I just the way everything, just the way it ends everything, it just feels so anticlimactic. It should not have happened here. It should not have been like this. Yet it happened. All the like praise for Legacy for doing it. It just should not have been the case, and that's why, to me, this is not really a great upset. I'm gonna put it on the C tier because, like, if it was, it just the storylines here. It's kind of like Legacy doing this amazing thing, but at the same time, Vitality losing such an awful way, it kind of like cancels each other out. I don't think this is a great upset. Very one-sided game for one team that got like a hot start here. Was already warmed up, playing best of one against Vitality, which we all know can lose individual maps. And it's like when you play a best of one, you're not gonna be playing in a map that's gonna be super great necessarily for either team. You might need to compromise. I don't remember how the vetoes go from like Legacy, like what they usually do or anything like that. But still, it's just a complete different playground compared to the whole best of free world. It just kills too much into anticlimactically to be anything great. Like if you go watch the game kind of like that ends the Vitality's historic run, and this is the game you see, you're kind of like, well, okay, that's it. Moving on. 3D Max beating G2. Yes, it's an upset, but at the same time, G2 is still kind of like recovering from losing Nico and Monesi, and now they had standing basically as their AWPer, playing their first game of the tournament. I just don't think this is really anything you can call an upset. Like, sure, but like 3D Max is not a bad team. They should not beat G2 on their full power, which G2 was not there. They're not on their full power. They're limping right now. So this is an upset on the name only, but it's nothing special. Furia beating MongolZ. I think this was the 1-1, 1-0 game for both of the teams, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it the opener? I don't remember if it was the first or second round. No, it was the first round. Yeah, it was the first round. Tough game. But again, I don't really know if this is like a proper upset. I mean, it is upset in a sense that MongolZ is the favorite, but at the same time, Furia just played pretty well in the previous tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Do I remember that right? They have a new player who's being doing pretty well, and this is not in the arena itself yet. I think it's just C tier game. It's really nothing special. It's kind of like on the same vein as in like MOUZ and VP. It could have been either way. It's just a result. It's certainly kind of like a little bit of an upset, but at the same time, it's nothing special. Just it's a good entertaining game. Lynn Vision beating Team Liquid with a stomping fashion. Now, I think this is kind of like almost sad to see how much Chinese teams were basically stomping on the American dreams here. Like, you have Tyloo winning complexity here. What else did I have those? Oh, I think I might have overestimated the whole scenario here. Because actually, well, it seems like the Americans were fighting back. It was more like the Legacy and other teams like that. Doesn't matter. Anyways, Lynn Vision, they had a great run. Again, this was I think I had Team Liquid pushing through, and Lynn Vision again being 0-3, fell for it again. Yeah, it's a good upset in that sense. Again, but it's just an opening round, best of one. It's kind of like the similar vein as in like what is the whole situation here, like with Legacy, Vitality, and 3D Max G2. There's not really much to go on about, except the fact that Team Liquid is the final last chance for American organization or team or anything like that to kind of like go through to the playoffs, and it starts like this. That's the only thing that kind of like pushes it above like the middle point and makes it in the bottom of the B tier. Furia beating Aurora in 1-0 game. Aurora was playing really bad in this tournament, and I think they should have beaten Furia, given that Furia is kind of like still getting used to things. But yeah, I don't think this is like anything special. This game, it's not a bad upset per se, because it's still like an upset. I do think Aurora should have won this game, but I think it's kind of like somewhere mid C tier. It's just nothing to really make anything out of. Like, it's not a bad game. It's not a good game. It's just a game. Virtus Pro beating Legacy. This shouldn't even be an upset. Plain and simple. It's just that the Legacy has their seating all the way on top after beating Vitality, and here's the reward. It's just... This should not be an upset to begin with. F tier. Basically beating MOUZ. Now, this was really a good one, because like two teams which we all hope to see through, I decided. And it was Faze Clan edging out MOUZ, putting MOUZ in the O2 pool. It's pretty good stuff. I mean, that's a pretty good stuff. It's a good upset too, because MOUZ should have beaten them on paper, but then Faze Clan just kind of like showed them that they can still do it, giving more hope for the Faze Clan. I think this is a B tier upset. It's now where would I put this on the list here? I think I'm gonna put it around here. It's like a lower end of the B tier, but it's still a good B tier. It's like B tier is a good tier. It's not a bad tier. It's a good upset. Furia beating VP 2-0. I'm not even certain if this is an upset. I mean, it's an upset in the sense that VP is a team that probably should have pushed through, or maybe should have pushed through. I'm not sure if Furia should have made it to the playoffs to begin with, but they did. It's just one of those games where you feel beforehand that, I mean, at least this was me going into this game, because I was kind of thinking potentially while making the whole big games to put Furia as a trio team, because I knew that they could team roll through if they'd start well, which they ended up doing. I didn't put them as my trio team, by the way. But yeah, And Virtus.pro is one of those teams where I think on a good day they can do things, but on a bad day they just crumble, and they crumble in the end. It's an E tier game to me, because on paper this is an upset, but in reality the upset is not really that great. I mean, it's probably somewhere in the top E tier. It's not like it's not as kind of like, yeah, it's better than most of these, I think. Basically beating Legacy. I think this is the one. Oh, this is the wrong order. This should have been before before this game. Doesn't matter. One error from my end, because it was still one of the best of ones. But yeah, it should not be should not have been a upset. Plain and simple. This is again this seeding thing where the Legacy just getting ahead in the seeding happens. Basically beating MongolZ. Now this was a good upset, because on paper you will expect MongolZ to do well, because this is in the group stages. And I think this is an A tier upset, because it's also kind of like setting us the table for the playoffs later on. This is on the hindsight only, by the way, not in the moment itself. But because this is kind of like, this guarantees that we're gonna be seeing Simple and Faze clan on the arena, which is pretty hype. And it's one of those things where you just kind of like you're secretly hoping that you get to see Faze clan on there. So it's one of those games where you hope this would happen. It ended up happening. I'm gonna put it like middle of the A tier, I would say. No, maybe I'm gonna put it even higher than their loss there, because the whole playoff thing there. Navi against G2. I'm not entirely sure why the seeding was on G2's favor here. I don't think this is an upset. It's like Navi has not been playing well, and they could have easily lost this game, but simply because Faze is in a kind of like rebuilding phase. Sorry, not phase. G2 is on a rebuilding phase. They play with a stand-in. It's just one of those scenarios where I think you need to take that into account. It's just it's not really anything special in that sense. It just yeah. It was a nice game. It was a tough game, so it's like it's not a bottom of this list. It's kind of like a top, because it was entertaining. It could have gone the other way around. It's just not really an upset. Same here. MongolZ playing G2. Why is this an upset game to begin with? I would say MongolZ is on paper much better team than G2. It's just the cheating, playing funny games with itself again. And this is actually not that great of a game. Like 2-0 against G2. That's kind of what you would expect to begin with, I would say. And then the last game of the stage 3, Pain Gaming versus Furia. VP. I think this is actually... Now I think this is actually the second S tier upset, because I don't think anybody expected Pain Gaming to go through. I mean, some people really did, but like generalizing, I don't think anybody expected Pain to go through. Versus VP, that was kind of like a team that a lot of people thought they could make it through. So that was a proper upset. It's a kind of tight score in the sense that it's 2-1. It's not like a one-ended stomp. It's a game that actually checks who's mentally stronger when it goes to the last map, and you have to figure out like, oh god, who's gonna go through. It's a good upset. I think this is like a simply based on that it's like, you know, like the eliminations before the playoffs, and Pain actually make this upset. That's kind of like what makes it just a very nice story to be held to begin with. And now let's move to the playoffs. With playoffs, I didn't look in the seeding. I only looked at the kind of like quote unquote eye test of like who I think should have won and what was kind of like considered the upset. First of all, I decided to take MongolZ Faze here again, for the simple reason that Faze Clan only beat MongolZ once. That kind of like has to mean something going into the second round. Like now you have kind of like history within the tournament itself. And you would expect that Faze can replicate it, especially when MongolZ has the tendency to kind of like melt away in the stadium games. They're not that good in front of the crowd. And this time they prove us wrong. Pretty, I would say convincingly. It's not like this game was super tight or anything like that. Like I feel like that the first game MongolZ could have won both maps, but I'm not sure if Faze could have won both maps here. I mean, it was the whole middle of the Mirage game, simple missing like a no scope in late round or something like that. That game basically ended up their comeback on that map. It was an entertaining game. It wasn't an S tier upset, but definitely top of the A tier upset to me. Simply because MongolZ was able to do something they have been struggling so long, and Faze didn't show their Faze magic that they're known of. And yeah, that means something. That was a good game. And yeah, I just think it's kind of like a good upset. It's not on the S tier. It's a good upset. Second game, Pain versus Furia. This is much more difficult to say because I think on paper Furia should have won this game. But at the same time, they are not really that state proven or experienced together yet. It continues the whole Pain storyline here. But I'm not really sold on this. I think this was kind of like a B tier upset, bottom of the B tier upset, because I could definitely see the world where Pain beats Furia. Because it's kind of like, even though Furia is the favorite, it's still a little bit of like a coin toss in the sense that, first of all, it's kind of like two teams from a very similar background. I'm not saying that they're both Brazilian or anything like that, simply because Furia is kind of like now expanding to the other regions. But I do think, I mean, yeah, it was a good game. So maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh. Maybe I should put this on top of B tier here. Yeah, it just, I think there was too many signs pointing out the possibility of Furia crumbling for this to be on the great upset tier lists here. Lastly, MOUZ beating Spirit, the reigning champion in the quarterfinal game. I think this was a really, really, really good upset for a couple of reasons. Spoiler, I'm gonna put this on the S tier. To me, this was the upset of this tournament, and that's not only because of my Finnish colored glasses. It's partly because MOUZ started this tournament really poorly. They were really, really close of losing against Team Liquid on the O2 game, and I think, was it the Legacy they won on 2-2 game? I'm gonna double check that real quick. Yeah, they beat Legacy 2-1 on the qualification game. They beat Aurora in the 1-2 group, also 2-1. They could have lost both of those games, I think. So there was a really realistic chance that they don't even make it to the playoffs. But then comes the playoffs, they got the opponent that they've consistently beaten all year long. Like, MOUZ is the Spirit beater. And they managed to actually do it again. Whereas Spirit, they went 3-0 if I'm not mistaken. They didn't really show much weakness in that sense during the group stages, like the stage 3, sorry. And they have their championship to defend, and seeing them go against Vitality would have been actually really good and entertaining game. I think they probably would have had similar, if not even better, chances to beat Vitality than MOUZ had, so maybe that could have been a good opportunity for Spirit to actually call the way to the finals. They didn't. MOUZ beat them 2-1, and if I remember correctly, it was Spirit winning the first map, was it? After which MOUZ came back and won the second one. I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly the order, but yeah, it was a good, entertaining, tough game. And when it went to 3 maps, I was really worried for MOUZ because I thought that their opportunity to win this would be only 2-0, and if they lost first or second map, that it would be too much for them to handle since the way the game has gone previously in this tournament. But they were able to push through. They showed great resilience, and I think that was really, really impressive. I think that was the upset that kind of like was the most exciting to witness, because it just showed that the MOUZ team was still able to overcome whatever mental hurdles they had during the tournament. It was a really, really nice kind of like end for their season to beat Spirit yet again, once more, basically ruining Spirit's season pretty roughly. I don't think Spirit had that good of a season, if I remember correctly. So I think it was a really nice game. It was a really good, solid story, redemption for MOUZ, all that stuff. But yeah, I've been at this for what, almost an hour now. Oh boy. Yeah, I think this is gonna be it. I don't think from top of my head I don't really have anything to change here. I think that's a pretty good summary for all the games. Yeah, I'll post this tier maker on the subscription below, so you can do yourself. Make your own list, show where I went wrong, what you think went differently. Go and do that. Have fun. I hope you like the list, and to all those 2 viewers watching all the way till the end, thank you very much. I've appreciated your company. Until next time, have fun.